Welcome to The Proud Psychologist, the fortnightly podcast that focuses on how LGBTQ peeps can look after and nurture their mental health. Brought to you by me, Carol, an LGBTQ coaching psychologist and hypnotherapist. This podcast will help you learn as well as proactively tend to your mental health. Hello, and welcome to the 6th episode of The Proud Psychologist. Today I'm going to be answering the question, what is emotion regulation and why is it important? Before we dive in, I want to thank you for tuning in. Last episode was not my best as I was unwell, and the day after I was actually confirmed as having COVID. It has not been the easiest couple of weeks, and I am very grateful for you joining me here today. I do a lot of work with clients around emotions, and I realised that it is not actually something that I have talked about much here, or on my website and socials. So I want to get started with you here, today, now. Because our emotions affect everything, from how we treat ourselves, to our relationships with others, from our work, to our hobbies and social life. Basically put, emotion regulation is the ability to bring your emotions back to baseline when something happens that triggers a strong emotional reaction. Strong emotional reactions may have lots of energy, like anger, excitement, and anxiety. Or they may be lacking energy, like with withdrawal, depression, and emotional numbing. When you get angry after someone cuts you up on the motorway, your sudden emotional reaction may be fleeting on a good day, or on a bad day, it can take you a few hours to calm back down. Calming down in the face of these high energy, aka high arousal feelings, is emotion regulation in action. The opposite is the goal of emotion regulation when you're experiencing low energy, aka low arousal emotions. Wherever you are emotionally, it's all to do with bringing you back to baseline. Soothing when experiencing those high energy, high arousal feelings, and stimulating energy when experiencing those low energy, low arousal ones. This kind of approach is heavily associated with PTSD because this is where we see a lot of people getting stuck emotionally. But when you look at the different things that people struggle with, and I mean properly, not just at the diagnosis level, you start to appreciate that knowing how to handle emotions is central to things like anxiety, depression, stress, relationship difficulties, etc. Encountering stigma, prejudice, discrimination, and victimization based on sexuality or gender. Yes, these are all forms of traumatic experience. Also calls on us to regulate our emotions, and can cause issues with regulation themselves. When we wake up late, don't have time to eat breakfast, rush to get to work on time, and our whole day is thrown off because of the stress and anxiety, we are trying to self-regulate, just maybe not successfully. Offloading to friends or immersing yourself in something that you know typically helps you forget about shit are both attempts to bring your emotions and your nervous system back to baseline. So this is all stuff that we are trying to do or are successfully doing to a greater or lesser extent every day. Emotion regulation is important because it enables us to function in our daily lives once people, things, events, etc. that have triggered an emotional reaction in us have passed. When our ability to manage our emotions and our nervous systems is hindered, we end up getting stuck in experiences like depression, anxiety, chronic stress, and with difficulties in interpersonal relationships. It's hard to tap into a productive kind of focus and motivation if you are stuck in feelings of danger, desperation, pain, hypervigilance, desolation, or hopelessness, etc. One tool to help conceptualize emotion regulation is called the window of tolerance. This is also known as the zone of tolerance, but window of tolerance is the most widely recognized. Now, your window of tolerance represents your ability to tolerate and cope with the ups and downs of life. So, Things can go well or poorly, and you will be able to handle it. If you miss your train into work and need to wait half an hour for the next one, this will be frustrating but manageable when you are operating from within your window of tolerance. It's when something drives you out of your window of tolerance that you run into difficulty. This can be one big thing or a build-up of multiple things. It could be that your window of tolerance is smaller than normal and your ability to tolerate these ups and downs is compromised. You know when you spill some milk while making a tea, and it's just the straw that broke the camel's back. You're then stood there in tears because even making a tea is more difficult than it should be. That is an example of being outside of your window of tolerance. Now, crying over spilled milk is only one way that being outside of your window of tolerance shows up. There are many different ways, and they can be categorised into one of two distinct experiences. One is called hyperarousal, because your nervous system is in a very activated fight-flight state. This is where experiences such as anger, rage, being on high alert, being irritable, feeling out of control, changes in your heart rate, shaking, trembling, and pacing come into play. When you're in hyperarousal, you're more emotionally reactive and likely to find yourself in conflict with others or feeling controlled and thrown about by your emotions. The opposite of hyperarousal is that of hypoarousal, where your nervous system is in a frozen, shut-down state. This hypoarousal state is characterised by feelings of depression and despondency, as well as zoning out, dissociating, emotional numbing, and withdrawal. When we visually depict the window of tolerance, hyperarousal and hypoarousal, the window of tolerance is in the middle, with hyperarousal above it and hypoarousal below it. This is to illustrate the peaks and troughs of energy and nervous system arousal. The size of your window of tolerance is influenced by various things, and it can change from one day to the next. Stress, detecting danger or threats, illness, sleep deprivation, and trauma are all examples of things which can shrink your window of tolerance. If your window of tolerance is shrunken, it takes less to send you into hyper or hypoarousal. Conversely, being physically well, rested, detecting cues of safety, and being connected with others can help expand it again. Expanding your window of tolerance typically requires help from others, and it gives you a greater resilience again to the ups and downs of life. The polyvagal theory, which was created by Stephen Porges and is based on the results of various studies of the human nervous system, bears striking similarities with the window of tolerance. According to the polyvagal theory, someone in the window of tolerance is able to access their ventral vagal system, which is active when they are in a state of safe social engagement. Hyperarousal is driven by the dominance of the fight-flight activation of the sympathetic nervous system, while hypoarousal is the domain of the immobilized, shut-down response of the dorsal vagal system. What this theory does by connecting experiences like this with changes in the nervous system is open up options for developing our ability to regulate our emotions and nervous system. There are people such as Deb Dana who are providing us with frameworks and exercises to use with clients. These are all based on the polyvagal theory and put it into practice so that people are empowered to befriend and regulate their nervous systems themselves. I love using both the window of tolerance and the polyvagal theory with my clients because it provides not only a visual depiction of and confirmation that their experience is normal, but also practical ways of taking what they are learning to improve their quality of life. There are various ways in which we achieve this, and it frankly, where we start depends on where the client is themselves. So it is still very client focused, even though there's some structure to it. I hope this has been helpful in giving you some understanding of what emotion regulation is and how in the context of coaching and therapy you can expand your abilities to regulate. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. In the meantime, take care.